What's up? I'm Charles Friley, and I'm gonna go through my entire song so that I might get a good grade on my final. Alright.
Hello, my name is Jane. A nervous condition to claim my brain. My husband's a doctor, wanna drain my pain, so he put me in a room, then he chained my legs. Not really though, just what it feels like. He said that his treatment, it'll make me feel right.
Alright, so the whole chain my legs thing is just like a reference. She feels trapped up in her room. So
And I can't get it out because the door's sealed tight. Let me tell you about this thing that I want to peel right off the wall. It's yellow wallpaper and it gives me the creeps. It's ugly and unsettling. Would you believe that it reeks? Its patrons have no patterns. The only theme is no theme. And if I'm gonna be honest, I want to scream till I weep.
alright, so the whole thing with the patterns, it's patterns have no patterns. I say patterns like that because it's a different pattern. Like within the words patterns that I'm saying, there is no pattern.
Because I want to go outside. I want to live like I'm normal. Can't tell my husband that, so I just write my thoughts in this journal. I wish he would listen. I know what's good for my health. I dream a day where there's no pain.
Self-explanatory right here.
But I'm looking at this paper, and what I see is my reflection. In this room, there are no mirrors. I know that I can feel a presence. There's this woman in the wall, and there's no way it's deception. I know this because that trapped woman represents my depression.
Alright, so this part right here, this part's pretty cool because it kind of like loops back on itself. It's like if it was cause and effect, it's like effect first and then cause, and then that explains the effect. I'm looking at this paper and what I see is my reflection. So she's looking at the wallpaper and she sees her reflection. And if you're not familiar with the yellow wallpaper story, that's a little confusing at first. It kind of explains itself later though. She says, in this room there are no mirrors. I know that I can feel a presence. So that's another like effect cause. I see my reflection, but there are no mirrors. There's this woman in the wall, and it's not deception because that woman represents her depression. That part's also pretty self-explanatory. Nothing too crazy in this first verse. It's the second verse that I feel like I need to explain more.
Represents all of the things I would confess in a session. It represents all of the things that would prevent me from heaven. It represents all of the pain, now lessons and blessings. It represents what makes a human, nothing less than a weapon.
So right here, represents all the things I would confess in a session. It represents all the things that would prevent me from heaven. They're kind of the same thing, just talking about like bad things, sin. Confess in a session, like you would confess in a church or confess to a priest. Or it represents her pain. It represents the pain of the world, and it later ties in to what the paper represents for in To Kill a Mockingbird. Pretty much in the song, the yellow wallpaper and the woman are being directly correlated to the outside world in To Kill a Mockingbird. I'll get into that later though. Nothing less than a weapon, that really goes with To Kill a Mockingbird, and I'll explain that later.
And unless I tear this paper off the wall, I will go crazy. This time my husband has no say. There's no way that he will save me. That poor woman trapped inside, don't want to free her, but she'll make me. Guess I found a cure. I'm not too sure how Jane is going to embrace me.
So unless I tear this paper off the wall, I will go crazy. It's a little bit of an ironic statement because at this point she's already crazy. Guess I found a cure. I'm not too sure how Jane is going to embrace me. So this is like her demonized depression. Like this is like the bad part of herself talking.
I guess it makes sense that no one would help. Scared and confused is the way that they felt. What you gonna do when the woman consumes me, makes me the loony, becoming myself?
Alright, so her demonized self consumes her and she goes crazy, she goes loony. Okay, so that was the first verse. Now we're gonna get to Boo Radley.
Hello, my name's Boo Radley, trapped in my house, ain't got much family. I have a bro, but he's more of a foe, cause he's real mean and I'm
self-explanatory.
No one knows no house arrest for longer than most of my life. They think I slaughtered the man that raised me, the man my father, but all this long time just made me strong.
He said I'm friendly. No one knows though. No one knows I'm friendly. I've been in house arrest for longer than most of my life because they think I slaughtered the man to raise me, the man was my father, but all this alone time just made me stronger. That's kind of like, if I could fit every syllable I wanted to, that's what I would say. But I still think it works. I still think it makes sense if you think about it.
What I mean is I'm trapped inside. Paper's the only way that I see outside. And what I see don't seem so clean. The people are mean and full of pride. I'm happy I'm not a part of it. The people got hearts apart in it. Just saw a white man that accused a black man of raping his daughter when clearly he started it.
Paper's the only way that I see outside. It's a very subtle connection to the yellow wallpaper and the paper, like the physical, I read the paper. The people got hearts apart in it. That's kind of a fun way to talk about how people's hearts are split.
Light when they're stuck in the dark. Ironic how brights overtake the darks. Ironic how whites think that they are the light. Who they think is dark is as bright as the stars.
This part right here is one of the things that inspired me to make this video. World needs a light when they're stuck in the dark. What I'm saying is the world, just looking at the world is a dark place. Everyone is essentially there's a lot of racism going on at this point in time. They're in the dark, they need a light, they need to not be racist, basically. Ironic how bright's overtaken the dark. What I'm saying is it's ironic that the world needs a light because they're dark, because all of the light-skinned people, all the brights referring to white people, darks referring to black people. Ironic how bright's overtaken the dark. White people have like taken superiority over black people at this time frame. Ironic how whites think that they are the light. The white people are the racist people. In the To Kill a Mockingbird, the only really racist people were the white people. Ironic how whites think that they're the light. Who they think is dark is as bright as the stars, referring obviously to the black people. And they are actually the bright ones. Who they think is dark, meaning black people. Who they, meaning white people. They, white people. Who they think is dark, black people, is as bright as the stars. They are very shiny people.
Out in a row will not fall for this trap, because they got a pops that will keep them on track. They got a pops that bought them new shoes, taught them to use them whenever they're mad.
Put yourself in someone else's shoes. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory, actually. Never mind.
Everyone else is just stuck in their shoes. Don't think of life from the black's point of view. I dream of a day where a man who is black can live his life free like the way I used to. I was free once, now I'm misunderstood. I'm just like the blacks, I look bad, but I'm good. I might be white, but I'm not like them suckers. When I see a brother, I don't see his color. I see what you would, and I look in their mind, and I see what's occurring. When I look at you, I see evil obscuring the bird that is pure in the dark and secured.
When I look at you, racist white people, I see evil obscuring the bird that is pure and the dark it's secured in. I'm comparing their heart to a mockingbird, because mockingbird represents innocence, it represents the good in people. The bird that is pure just helps that essence of goodness. He sees the dark it's secured in. He sees the dark its bird's secured in. So their good is covered with a whole lot of bad and a lot of bad things. It's like the bird is their heart is pure, and surrounding their heart is a darkness. And that darkness, same thing I was referring to earlier, is like the bad stuff in the world.
That's why I saved them from darkness and light. I took the man down without much of a fight. You think it's murder, I think you're absurd. I don't kill mockingbirds, I just kill those who try.
From darkness of light, referring to Bob Owell. You think it's murder, I think you're absurd. I don't kill mockingbirds, I just kill those who try.
So let's take a look at how these two books are correlated. The wallpaper represents everything. Boo Radley might have hated the paper, brought the worst out of Jane. It made her brain go crazy. The papers like the world that hated blacks, causing segregation.
Wallpaper represents everything Boo Radley might have hated. We remember earlier, Boo Radley hated the people, the outside world. These people are mean and full of pride. Outside world, wallpaper, they're getting correlated right there.
Between Boo Radley and Jane was was Jane to the world and rather stayed sane. Well, Jane represents all the people that hate any black man or woman for the dark colored face. Boo rather represents all the people who stayed judged by their heart and not by their race. The whole world against Boo must have been fate that Boo didn't give, stood strong in his.
Jane, she represents people who have fallen into the trap of the world and believe all the racist things that people say. Boo Radley represents people like Atticus who do not go with society norms and do not follow that and, you know, think with their own head.
Even though both people were different, Boo Radley and Jane had the dreams aligned. Both of them left an imprint. Both had a legacy left behind. Jane dreamt that people would listen and treat her normal, let her decide how she thought she would be treated. Let her use her brain, let her go outside. Boo dreamt that people would listen and treat blacks normal, let them decide. Don't give the men a limit. Let them free, let them breathe, let them live their life. Let's talk about that imprint. Boo killed a man just to save Jam's life, and Jane may have saved those ill with. She changed the way Doctor saved those lives.
I'm just trying to basically get across what their dream was. Their American dream, the dream for the American people. Jane just wanted to be free, she wanted to be normal, she wanted to be treated normal. Jane and Boo are different people. They symbolize nearly opposite things. Boo is for people who don't fall in the world, Jane is for people who do. But they both wanted the same thing, which is freedom. They both wanted racism to be down, and I say like that because Jane she wasn't dealing with racism, she was dealing with people not treating her normal because of her depression. So in this case, depression and racism are pretty similar in these two cases. And Jane may have saved those ill with, she changed the ways doctors saved those lives. And I say, and Jane, even though it was really the author that did this.
Long story short, both were important in the way segregation displayed, and both had a dream. One day the things would not be about any difference between all the people, strong or crippled, whatever race, everyone is equal. What have we learned? What's of concern? Kill segregation and not mockingbirds.
All right, so oh yeah, this stupid. Yeah, I had fun with making the beat in some places, and that was definitely one of them. Also, the announcer yelling. That was another thing I had fun with. Anyway, thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed. English teacher of mine. Hopefully, I get a good grade on this final. I had fun making this song. All right. Peace out. Thank you. Bird, a mockingbird. Bird, the mockingbird, the bird, mockingbird, bird, the